Thank you. All right, I'm going to ask Mr. John Walsh to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, if we could, we're still trying to figure out how to accommodate in this new facility here. You know, the other facility was really easy because just walk out, but I'm going to come down and Candace Eriks is going to, in fact, I see you're number one on the list. So Candace, you're going to give us a legislative update, if you could.
Good morning, everybody. Candace Eriks with Eriks Consultants. I'm joined with Representative Kristen Jacobs, who will actually start us off, and we're actually going to get a presentation from all three of us, and we're very excited to have her join us today. We just got back from Tallahassee probably about 3 weeks ago, and unfortunately, I think we're probably going to have to go back. We're hearing talks of special session regarding gaming April 23rd, so we'll keep you.
Is that mic on?
How's that?
It doesn't sound like it.
Got everybody hear this.
It's on. It's on. And also Lauren Jackson, who's also here from my office, and my father, Dave Eriks, apologizes that he couldn't get out of Tallahassee, but he sends his regards and he'll be here soon. So I'm going to kick it off to Representative Kristen Jacobs, and we'll go ahead and kind of give a presentation all together.
Representative Jacobs, welcome to our new City Hall.
Good morning. I can't believe what a beautiful facility it is. And I was commenting how nice it is that somebody finally got art in public places right. It's hanging from the ceiling. It's not just something you walk on. It seems a lot of public buildings have been interpreting that as a flooring. And so it was nice to see not just a beautiful facility, but a great use of art in public places. I'm super excited to be here with you all today and wanted to first start by just thanking both you, Skip, and Dan for coming up to Tallahassee. There's so many things that go on that it's really wonderful to have you there and walking the halls. We often feel a little alone up there from Broward, and it's really great to see your faces and Joy. I know that you were up as well, so it's just really awesome. So it was an interesting session. And a lot of things began at the front of the burner and then kind of fell to the back as the events surrounding the mass shooting at Parkland took place. And we watched our budget shift, and we watched the focus of all as was necessary and much needed as we began to focus on how we could address those issues. So I wanted to at least first start with some of the issues that happened. One project that I know that Dan and I share near and dear, and I think for all of you, is 893, 95, etc., the local bill that dealt with one person, one vote instead of 1 acre, 1 vote. You would have thought that that would resonate in Tallahassee to an amazing degree, but in fact, it's very interesting how much money can be put on another issue, as you know, to lobby items up in Tallahassee. And so that item never did get to a single committee. It doesn't mean that it's not going to, though. To me, it's an issue that is one of the rightness of government, the rightness of the public to be able to vote on those issues that affect them. And as it stands now, because it's 1 acre, 1 vote, there's probably about 30%, we estimate, in the city of Coral Springs who are affected by what happens with the water district, but they are not able to vote. And that's just wrong. If your taxes are being spent and you're paying them, you ought to be able to vote. So that bill will be back, and hopefully with new leadership in the House and in the Senate, we'll be able to move that bill a little further along than we did. Some of the things that happened that were, I think, really exciting for me personally, but I think for the future of our state. I have been working, as you know, on water issues for about 20 years, and 2 of the projects, one was a C51 project, which has been in the works for 12 years, working on that back when I was a county commissioner. That project finally moved forward. It's sitting on the governor's desk right now. We've all been working very hard to see that he signs that bill. We don't know. We have, well, the time is winding down, so we're still holding a connection between Palm Beach County and Broward County to move potable water from a reservoir in northern Palm Beach County all the way to Broward County that helps us hydrate our land so that we can push back against saltwater intrusion and also create future potable water for our cities. The other project that was signed by the governor, HB 53, set up a conservation zone that goes all the way from the Dry Tortugas to the St. Lucie Inlet. It is a massive area bracketed around our 3-tier coral reef system, which sadly has been in decline. Over the last 2 years, we've lost 21 of 35 coral species, and we don't know why. So we were successful last year in getting the monitoring monies to go look at what was happening. This year, even more exciting was to have those dollars added to DEP's budget, so it's not a member request, rather it is an agency request that will continue to go and monitor, and then also that the DEP bolstered their coastal resiliency office with another $2.6 million to be able to continue to understand what's happening off the coasts of Florida. So while we are not a coastal city, we are always interested in what happens.
We are going to be the coastal city in 25 years. We're sure that Coral Springs is going to be beach property, so
You never know.
everybody
with
that
sea
has
level
property
rise.
out here, don't sell yet, because this will be beachfront property.
So I don't want to, there's a lot of other projects to talk to you all about, and we don't want to overstay our welcome. So I'm going to kick it back to Candace right now, and we'll kind of, if it's okay, go back and forth on some of the issues that I know are important to you all.
Perfect. And also, I just want to make sure that you guys know, please jump in at any point if you want to stop us. You have a question, if there's something that we don't touch on, please, and you want us to elaborate on. I mean, obviously, this was a historic year for many years. I mean, for many reasons. I mean, Skip, it's a very different world up there right now, and I don't see it going back.
No, I can tell you from being up there twice this year, and with Commissioner Daly, I think was up there 4 or 5 times, it's a totally different place up in Tallahassee. I don't know how you guys do anything.
We're trying. So, and it is a team effort, which I think is more what we're going to be talking about after we talk a little bit about what happened in Tallahassee, what we're going to be doing now. I think we need to really be more of a collaborative effort. We've got new leadership here with the new city manager. We're very excited about that, and some of the administration, and of course you guys are steadfast with your always ready, your assistance side by side with us 100%. But also the fact that, and I'll let Kristen talk a little bit about her team up there in Tallahassee, meaning not only her legislative staff that's here with us, Jeff, who's amazing and wonderful and always ready to help, but also her colleagues in the Senate and the House that she works and that are all representatives of Coral Springs. So real quick, I'll just talk a little bit about the fact that it's been historic simply because there was a low of passage of bills. There were 200 bills that passed over, I think 3,200 were filed. There's a lot of things that I think feed into that. I think mainly it's a huge election year this year. We're gonna have all the cabinet races up, including obviously the governor, and then we've also got a constant attack on home rule. Dan knows that probably better than anybody on the dais, along with Skip, simply because of their involvement with the League of Cities and also being up there. We're still dealing with that right now, obviously, with the CRC, which there is a proposal out there that there was a provision that again, was an attack on home rule that was taken out, and then Senator Tom Lee is trying to get that back in as we speak right now. But so it's an ongoing thing. It's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. We work collectively very closely with the Florida League of Cities. We're one of the few lobbying firms that actually goes hand in hand with them, so we're very proud of that relationship, along with the Florida Association of Counties, which we always collaborate together with them 100% now because we really need to be a louder voice. Do you want to add to any of that? Okay. So some of the substantive legislation that I think now Lou has indicated that he has started an opioid task force here about last year, so we're very excited about that. We're very excited about that effort because opioids obviously was one of the larger things that happened in addition to our unfortunate tragedy here back at home. That kind of dominated the session. So the opioid bill did pass. There is some provisions in there that I think will lend to the task force as we move forward collaboratively. And so that's some of the substantive part of that was that it changed from prescription drugs from 3 to 7 days only instead of prescribing opioids for a longer period of time to help with the addiction situation. And I've also got a funding breakdown that I will send to each one of you for what's going to be moving forward through DCF and through Department of Health. And then obviously I'll turn it over to Lauren for a few minutes just to talk about some of the home rule that we're gonna be looking at moving forward, some of the things that might be coming back, and then I wanna come back and let Kristen talk a little bit, but then I wanna talk to you about things that we know that are coming back that we need to start making, efforts to collaborate with other cities that I know for a fact is gonna be a hard sell for next year.
Welcome, Lauren.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, I mean, in terms of home rule this year, I mean, as she was saying, it was a very different year. It was dominated by a series of crises. First, we had the hurricanes, Hurricane Irma, and then we took on the evacuees from Hurricane Maria, and then we had a significant boost in spending that we needed to do for Medicaid, which also impacted the budget. And then, of course, we had the tragedy at Stoneman Douglas, and that kind of overshadowed a lot. So a lot of bills died, which for us typically is a good thing because there's a lot of attacks out there on home rule. Fortunately, not a lot passed. There were preemption bills that were filed and moved for all sorts of things, from vegetable gardens to dockless bicycle stations to, there was even a provision in the tax package that would have prevented any type of regulation that would regulate or ban or restrict the sale of anything that fell under Chapter 212, which is the taxation section. It kind of goes along with HB 17 from the previous session, sort of trying to use commercial trade and whatnot to tie local governments' hands, saying that they can't regulate or restrict anything. We later found out that that had to deal with puppy mills, and thank goodness everyone was able to mobilize, and they were able to take that out of the package, and also prevented a puppy mill bill from getting, amendment from getting into the package as well. But we were hustling up until the very last minute. There were also a lot of ethics and transparency bills, which we, of course, very much support good government and ethics and transparency. I think that we're probably one of the leaders in the state at this city commission that definitely follows the rules and tries to be ethical and transparent. The problem is there were so many different ones, it got to the point of almost micromanagement and burdensome and a lot of things of that nature. So there were a lot of ethics proposals out there up until the very, very, very last minute. So fortunately, not a whole lot passed, but definitely we do expect to see a lot of things coming back. CRA reform was also a big thing. I do expect that to come back just because there are bad actors out there and they make a lot of headlines, and legislators see that, even particularly in a local area of where the Capitol is. There's a lot of headlines around a CRA that's definitely, they're looking at that and they want to clean that up, you know, to make sure that taxpayer dollars are being spent in a good way. But sometimes, you know, they can swing the hammer a little too hard. So we're definitely going to keep on the pulse of that as well. In terms of home rule, I mean, I think those are really the big things, but of course there's a lot more. Do you want me to go into? Yeah, oh yeah, vacation rentals was a very big fight. We had to hustle very hard through that one, and that was very interesting too, because the procedural moves that they had to pull to get it out, not only of its Senate committees, but especially the House committees, and actually Representative Jacobs was an absolute rock star on that issue. They had to pull some things I've never seen before in my entire career, and I think everyone in the room was shocked, in both the Senate committee and the House committee. Very not transparent, very shutting down of the process and manipulating the process, and then that's how they got the bill out of committee. But fortunately, it didn't move beyond that. I don't know if you want to address that.
I too have never seen some of the shenanigans that happened with vacation rentals. We had a series, I had several amendments, so did my colleagues. And what they ended up doing is as we were going to amend the bill, they went and pulled back the strike all and put us back. So, well, suffice to say, a variety of procedural maneuvers that no one knew what was happening. The entire meeting shut down as even the staff was trying to follow what was going on. Certainly the chair, the speaker had sent down Speaker Pro Tem to weigh in and carry a vote to help push the vote a certain way. At the end, they shut down public comment altogether. People who had come up on 3 different meetings to speak to vacation rentals. City, it didn't matter who you were, whether you were the industry or you were elected and representing people from your district. No one was allowed to speak. At the end of the committee prior to ours, all they would allow people to do was stand up and wave in objection or in support, not even to say why or what the issues were. So it was very, very strong-armed, and at the end, as a whole meeting just started to fall apart, and the bill didn't get past that committee. The moves that took place were, I think, even to leadership, embarrassing that it had gone on. And if local governments had ever run a meeting the way that meeting was run, to shut out the public, to shut out elected officials, to shut out industry from speaking to an issue that affects every single homeowner in the state, was really quite remarkable. And to walk all over home rule and to the degree to which they were was quite shocking. So that when we talk about things that are coming back, the way that whole thing played out, my expectation is it will be back again. So gearing up for this fight and understanding, now we know the dirty ways in which this thing is going to play out, and we have to be thinking just as strategically as they were to be able to make sure that we don't let it get any further than it did this last session. But they're not going away.
I mean, I kind of want to find out what you guys, because there's so much to go over.
Well, why don't we see if there's any questions? Dan, you got any questions or any remarks?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I can jump in. I don't have anything on specific issues. One, I just wanted to say thank you. You know, as the mayor said, I went up 4 or 5 different times, both on behalf of the city and the Broward League of Cities. And, you know, as somebody that, and I'm sure the mayor can attest to this, as somebody that has followed the legislature now for over 10 years, as both an employee of the House and legislative elected official and everything else, it is so wildly different of an atmosphere than even if it, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. There's no willingness to really work together on a bulk of the issues. It's you know, you saw the perfect example is vacation rentals, where they just kind of slam through whatever they want and will pull whatever maneuvers they need to do that. And so it's a very hectic, troubling environment. So I give a lot of credit to Representative Jacobs, our other representatives, Candace, Lauren, everybody that kind of goes through that cycle every year, that legislative session every year. So, and for those that are unaware, you know, Lauren alluded to it earlier. It's the 60th. What's the expression? It's the 60 most deadly days in Florida. Or, I mean, no one is safe from the Florida legislature when they're in session. So, you know, and a lot of times you frame it as, well, you have a good year if a lot of stuff doesn't pass because of the different attacks that have taken place. So I just want to thank you for fighting the good fight and keeping it up and keeping the faith and continuing to represent us. You know, I have to say, on a municipal level, I think cities fared largely okay. Not to say that the fight's not going to come back. It comes back every year. But we were really, given this being the speaker's second year and potential running for governor and everything else, cities all across Florida were terrified, frankly, of all the different proposals. And I think it's a testament to Gil Ziffer, the president of the Florida League of Cities, and municipal elected officials all across the state, where everywhere you went, you heard about home rule. For the first time ever. I think in years past, nobody really knew what home rule was. If you weren't directly tied into the process, you didn't get it. But you saw a branding program, you saw an outreach program from cities all across the state educating the populace on home rule and how local elected officials should be the ones making the decisions in your local communities. That's why you elect them. So, you know, and I want to jump to the Marjory Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Act. Representative, I want to thank you. I know that was a difficult vote. I know that it's not a perfect bill. I know that it didn't go as far as a lot of people, yourself included, wanted. But ultimately, it's a first step, and it's a step in the right direction. And for those that have watched a little bit of the Florida legislature, and I'm not going to get, you know, overly political here, I'm just going to state facts. The NRA is extremely powerful in Florida. I would say the most powerful lobbying group in Florida. So when there is any step away from that, away from their mentality, I view that as a positive and a step in the right direction for everyone. I would say that the bill is probably the most significant step away from the NRA in probably Florida's history. You know, when a group has run out of positions to take and has come up with stupid ideas, like pediatricians can't ask kids if can't ask families if there's a gun in the home when they bring home a child. They can ask about pool safety, they can ask about chemical safety, they can't ask if there's a gun in the home. That's frankly stupid. There's no better way to describe it. And luckily the courts have overturned that rule. But that's, I mentioned that to illustrate the point of how crazy Tallahassee had become on that one particular issue. So the MSD's Public Safety Act is a good step in the right direction. I appreciate you, Representative Moskowitz, Senator Book, and so many others that stepped up to vote yes to make sure that it passed, because I know it was a difficult balancing act. Locally, I wanted to thank you for your support and belief on the water district issue. For those that are not aware, in certain senses, we are still in the 1800s, where only landowners get to vote. So if you live in a special taxing district, a water district, only the landowner gets to vote, and you get votes proportional to the amount of acres, the number of acres that you own. So it's not one person, one vote, it's 1 acre, what is it, however many acres per vote, right? Which to me is insane, which also means that certain people don't get a vote. And if you are a large property owner, you can throw all of your proxy votes behind one candidate, and that's the candidate that wins. Everyone else be damned. That's not the way that it should be in this state, and I appreciate you stepping up. And it's a difficult fight, and I'm glad to hear that you're willing to take it on again. So thank you for that. And also, hey, shout out, you were on Influence Magazine, so that's cool. In all seriousness, Representative, we appreciate all that you do for us up there. And Candace and Lauren, year after year, you guys fight the battles for us. You are eyes and ears in Tallahassee, and I greatly appreciate that. One thing, and Candace and I have discussed this, you know, and in particular this year, it was kind of out of our control, but I say this to my colleagues so we can kind of make note of it and see how we may be able to change the way we present our funding requests. I think we need to get a little bit more forceful. I think we need to meet several times with our local legislators to make sure that they're fully abreast of what we're requesting and why and how, and so that we can continue to fight for those projects. Obviously this year, with everything that went on, particularly towards the end of session with Stoneman Douglas and everything else, there was no way to combat against that in terms of budgetary requests. But I want to make sure that our community is getting the funding that we need fighting. So if we could take a look at that. But all in all, I really appreciate all that you do, and I'm sorry to dominate the conversation. I just really appreciate it.
Commissioner, if I could, on your last point, I think for the benefit of the group, I'm on Ag and Natural Resources Appropriations and the Policy Committee that comes prior to that, and the next one after that. So any of the bills that come through, I actually will vote on 3 times in committee as well as on the floor. So it's fortunate to be in that place where you get to have your voice heard 4 different times on a bill. Most of us don't get that opportunity. But as relates to funding requests that fall under that category, we saw in one day 130 projects associated with water and 80 2 days before that. We are running through these projects. There's something to be said about when a city like Coral Springs comes forward with a budget request. I never have to worry that your budget request is coming forward without a match. You always come forward with what's the expression, more than your appetite. You come to the table with real dollars, and it's really important that, as well as taking a more regional approach. When a project comes through and there's a conversation about which one has a state or broader interest, why should the state be funding this project instead of this one? Coral Springs projects will continue to elevate to the top of that list because you're looking regionally and because you're coming to the table with your own funds to help match it. So you have a good story to tell, and that story is not just to our legislative leaders that are all in our delegation that are already going to be supporting you, but those who sit on that committee that are making those decisions, and as it runs through the different levels of committees, the opportunity to sit and talk to them about what the projects are and why they're important is a really it's a positive step for the city when we go through, because the city really stands out and did in this legislative session. And as you said, Commissioner, with the funding $400 million to try to fund all of the requests, including the bill for 7026, it just sucked the oxygen out of the room in the budget. So our hope is that your projects, those that were not funded this year, will be funded next year. And to keep ever present in your mind, the story you have to tell is a really good story. And having those up there that are making those decisions hear it is an important part of the strategy.
And just to add to that, please know that one of your projects was, up until the end, still getting funded, and it was in the budget. And as most of you know, through the years that we've discussed, sometimes a horse trading goes on and something happens and one legislator changes one list for another list. And unfortunately, we were on that list that didn't get chosen in the set. Go ahead.
If I can just jump in, and I please don't misconstrue my comments.
Yeah.
Mine are directed more to this body to say, hey, we need to get more aggressive. Because look, as everybody up here knows, Candace has gone to bat, and our local legislators have gone to bat for us year after year. And in some years, we have a pretty penny coming back to us, and the governor slashes it from the budget. So anything can happen in this process. I just want to see if there's a way that we can connect all the dots. So.
And with that being said, we're excited that there's new leadership. We're coming into a year now, there's going to be a new governor, depending on how this election year lands. But we already know who our next president's going to be, Senator Galvano. He's a good friend of Broward. He's come down here. So, we have an ear in that office, which is wonderful. I'm looking forward to his
Cheats when he
leadership.
plays golf.
I'll let him know that. You going to come to the tournament this year?
No, I played golf in a tournament last week for Lauren Book down in Miami, and he had a 17 under and had no mulligans. And I had a ringer with me who was a former pro, and he beat the living daylights out of us. And I can't believe that you can get 17 under
Without a
with
mulligan.
no mulligans.
Crazy.
Anybody out there believe that?
That's what Mary's always thinking.
I have one comment. I want to thank you all, first of all, for doing a great job up there. And this will go to the representative most likely. I feel fairly confident you're going to have a special session because we're talking about $500 million lost revenue if we don't have a pact with the Seminoles. But one very important issue for your constituents, and especially Coral Springs, Coconut Creek, Margate, is we got to make sure there's enough funding for our police officers, and if that bill comes up, we got to make sure that we get enough funding so that we can, do what we have to do in this city. Although we're 2 cities away, we do still get some overflow from the gambling, and I would ask that you consider that when that bill comes up.
Absolutely, and you're right. Even though cities are peripheral to where gaming activities are taking place, the impacts for law enforcement are much broader than the area in which it's taking place, and we've seen that happen over and over again. So it's something that I know well from being a county commissioner. I know it from now being in the House, and unfortunately, the way I think this special session is going to shake out, and you all have probably seen this, is they don't call us up there until the deal's already done. So the ability to impact what that legislation looks like sometimes is very limited. I can't say at this point what it's going to look like. They're keeping all those cards very close to the vest, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I thank you for your support, and if there's any other information that you need for me to know, you all have my cell phone. Please always feel free to reach out and let me know. Even if we're on the floor, I can't pick up the phone and talk, but I can text. But I can't text
Yeah,
you. That's all right.
new rules from this speaker. And I do want to add to this, and the representative and I spoke a little bit. I just want to give her the opportunity to talk about how her relationship with the colleagues that work with Coral Springs as well, with Kevin.
We are really, really lucky. I am really, really lucky to have come to the legislature and serve with Lauren Book and Kevin Rader on the Senate side and Jared Moskowitz on the House side. The 4 of us we're really a great team, and I don't know how many cities get to have the kind of leadership that we have and the ability for us to work together, but we're really close, and it's been awesome moving things together. When you look at, for example, 7026, that bill was the hardest vote I think anybody in the legislature has ever taken. And we joke about how the House is so loud and raucous and the Senate is so boring and quiet. But on the day that that bill was up, you could have heard a pin drop on the House. It was a very delicate balance to see that bill move. And the four of us just hung together, not just within our chambers, but going back and forth. The issues over sexual harassment, the bill that I sponsored along with Lauren Book, up until the very last second of the legislative session. Literally on the last day, that thing was on life support. And the four of us were just working our chambers together on the bill. And unfortunately, it got hung up in messages, and the Senate didn't take up the last changes for it. So that bill absolutely will be back again. Lauren and I are going to sponsor it. But it's a unique thing that we have, and I'm very blessed and to be part of this group of people who serve the city. And just really hoping that as we move forward, the four of us representing the city and going hopefully through the next several years, the voters bring us back. I really would like to spend some time with you all as a city, as a tour with the city manager, to better understand what's happening in the city, even in the city in which I live. And it's true, I don't live in Coral Springs. I live in Coconut Creek. But in a tour recently of Coconut Creek, it was amazing how many things were going on in the city that I didn't know. And I live there, so I would really like that opportunity, but also to pull in my colleagues from the legislature that represent the city, and perhaps we could all do it together. I think it would be a lot of fun and a great learning experience for us.
I'm sure Mr. Goodrum's going to put something together for you, and that'll be one of his priorities.
And so we're very excited about that. That's part of our plan moving forward, and obviously we'll keep you in the loop of everything that's going on. You get our weekly reports during session. You will continually get our verbal reports. We speak to you guys probably, whenever anything's happening, but we'll keep you up with the CRC. We'll keep you up with the special session. And then, as we move into, and it's going to move quickly into next session, we've talked about doing a legislative workshop, and I think that we're going to do that to make sure probably midsummer to go ahead and move into the November session. So if you have any questions, obviously for me or Lauren, if Lauren wants to add anything.
Yeah, no, that's good. One quick thing though, with the gaming, the 3% cost share was in both proposals, just FYI, that was intact.
Okay, great.
It changes based on the traffic.
Any other questions by any members of the commission? Yes, Vice Mayor Semaglia, you're recognized.
First of all, I want to thank you, ladies. You're all doing a great job for us, and we really appreciate it. We talked a little bit earlier about the opioid situation. If you wouldn't mind, like we talked earlier, keep me informed, because we're going full steam now with our task force that we put together, and we know that the need is even more than we thought it was. So, again, keep me informed, let me know what's happening, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
Representative, I won't tell Mayor Rydell, please don't tell Mayor Rydell I said this, but whenever you want to move to Coral Springs, we'll love to have you.
Give him a round of applause. All right. We got to figure out how to do this now. Dr. Byrne? This last Sunday, there was a march out at Coral Glades High School about the Holocaust, and this is Dr. Andrew Byrne. And there's a day called Yom HaShoah, which is a day of remembrance for us in history, to remember that 11 million people were executed, of which 6 million were Jewish, by the Germans in World War II. I was amazed the other day when I read an article about a gentleman that's running for Congress up in Illinois who said that the Holocaust did not happen. And it just totally blew me away. And there are people out there that actually believe that. But we, at least in Coral Springs, want to make sure that the Holocaust is remembered and will never, never, never happen again. Now, Dr. Byrne, I'm going to let you do some speaking, but I'd like to do the proclamation. Yom HaShoah is a day for communities to gather and commemorate the dark period of the Holocaust as we remember 11 million individuals who perished, including 6 million Jews. We need to ensure that those who survived those horrors can live their remaining days with dignity and in comfort. The history of the Holocaust encourages us to reflect on our moral responsibilities to prevent such incidents of hate and prejudice from taking place in the future. We applaud the efforts of individuals, societies, and governments are devoting towards this cause, as well as the efforts to better themselves through education and awareness. We commit never again, and to work to promote human dignity by confronting intolerance and hate. This is signed by myself and the entire City Commission, and I'm going to turn this over to you, and I'm going to ask you to say some words.
On behalf of Temple Beth Am, which is on the corner of Royal Palm, we are very grateful for the city's efforts in recognition of the Yom HaShoah Holocaust Remembrance Day. This year, as each year goes by, fewer and fewer survivors bear witness to what happened. We have 21 direct witnesses, survivors of the Holocaust this year at our shul, and we have the children and grandchildren of many survivors. We have all of this in our program that's taking place April 11th, and we also have a program on April 8th where we show the movie Raise the Roof, and a presentation by Marty Levin, who has models of the Kristallnacht, all the synagogues that were destroyed in Germany. He made models of them, and he's demonstrating that as well for both nights, the 8th and the 11th. We are grateful for living in the United States, where we have free expression and don't have to look over our shoulders of someone coming after us. It's a dark day in history, but the challenges are that the people that were the witnesses are leaving us. And we need to keep the remembrance of what happened so that individuals that are the Holocaust deniers are confronted with the reality and the truths of what happened.
I'd like to ask the entire commission to come on down for a picture. And now if I could have, and hopefully I'm going to pronounce your name correctly. It's Naira Sacker. Are you going to do it, Mr. Hickey? And Rita Scott. Oh, over here. I don't know, I'm looking over here.
Good morning, everyone. This is our annual proclamation for Fair Housing Month, and Rita Scott is, I think this is your third year or fourth year here. Been a few, fourth year, and she's with Hope Inc., and she's going to talk about the Fair Housing Summit that's this Friday coming up, and as well, maybe you can talk a little bit about what Hope Inc. does.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me, Mayor, and Commissioners, and distinguished officials. We appreciate it. Hope Inc. is a nonprofit organization that basically fights housing discrimination, and we've been in existence about 30 years, and we work in conjunction with federal, state, and local government entities that do enforce the Federal Fair Housing Act. So that's basically our mission, is to just ensure that every individual and every municipality in Broward County and in Miami-Dade has equal access to housing and equal access to lending. So each year, you know, we're very proud to come here and be recognized by the city of Coral Springs because they have a strong commitment to fair housing, and they are one of the leading examples of one of the cities in Broward County that does exhibit their support and dedication to this. So we're very, very proud. And I'm a Coral Spring resident for almost 20 years, so I'm very proud of that. We do have our 50th anniversary coming up. We're celebrating that this Friday. We have a fair housing event every year. So this year is particularly exciting because President Johnson signed the Federal Fair Housing Act this month, 50 years ago. And, you know, a little bit of sadness attached to it. I mean, it was one of the several pieces of legislation that came through just a couple of weeks after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So, and we are recognizing his death this month as well. So, you know, we have these milestones that we're recognizing, but this is just part of our history, and we're just, you know, proud to continue on the legacy that President Johnson and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Put forth for all of us.
Thank you, and I just wanted to mention Neera Sankar, she's here. She's our housing person, so folks that are interested in our home repair program or any questions really about housing, Neera in my office is the contact for that. So.
Great. Now let me give you a proclamation, if I might. This April marks the 50th anniversary of the passage of the United States Fair Housing Law, Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, which established a national policy of fair housing without regard to race, color, creed, national origin, sex, familial status, and handicap, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all citizens. The City of Coral Springs supports programs that help educate every American of their right to fair housing, including the upcoming Life, Liberty, and Fair Housing for All event hosted by Hope, Inc. and Broward County. This was signed by myself and the entire City Commission, Rita, and we want to thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Daly, I appreciate it if you would come down and help me on the next one. Sure.
Thank you, sir. Arbor Day.
You're doing Arbor Day.
Yes. Where's Casey Lee? Casey's not here. Who's jumping in for Casey Lee? Oh, I'm sorry. I should read the program. Keith, come on up. Do we have the proclamation? Very good. So this is a special proclamation for Arbor Day 2018. Arbor Day is a great time to plant trees as they reduce the erosion of topsoil, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide a habitat for wildlife. Coral Springs, a Tree City USA for the past 31 years, encourages all residents to contribute to the health of their community by planting a tree. The City of Coral Springs will commemorate Arbor Day at the annual Earth Fest event at the Sawgrass Nature Center on Saturday, April 21st, which you'll hear more about in just a second. Therefore, we, the City Commission of Coral Springs, proclaim April 21st, 2018 as Arbor Day, signed by the Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioners.
Who wants to say something?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Daly. We're going to be having our Arbor Day planting on our Earth Fest event, which is going to be at the Sawgrass Nature Center on Saturday, April 21st. City residents and visitors are encouraged to come out to the Sawgrass Nature Center to learn about the environment, water conservation. We're going to be teaching how to plant trees. We're going to be planting a tree at the same time. Keith and his staff has been working on getting the Nature Center cleaned up and prepared. We're going to be offering a tree per resident to plant in their own home, and we encourage everybody to attend.
Real quick, before that picture, so if you have not been to Earth Fest, please check it out. It's a really neat event. There's always different booths set up and different information and education about Earth Fest and Arbor Day, and we do plant a tree every year. And basically what I've learned is if you show up right at the time when you plant the tree, you don't have to dig the hole. Unfortunately, Lou Samaglia shows up 2 hours in advance, and he's out there shoveling it. So hope you can be there. Really great event, and really proud of it in our community.
Why don't you guys come on
You guys got to bring a shovel so Lou can hold it in the photo.
Actually, we should have had a shovel. Is there a shovel around here?
We're scooting this way, guys. Sorry about that. Good to see you. Hey, Lou.
Thank you.
Kathy Liriano, are you here? Why is Clyde coming up? These people, by the way, if you don't know, are the ones that were there listening to the 911 calls from Stoneman Douglas. So I'm going to turn this over to Clyde. Before we do this, could you introduce your new deputy chief also?
Certainly. For those that you don't know, Brad McKeon is the newly promoted Deputy Chief of Operations.
Congratulations.
And of course, our Deputy Chief of the admin side is Sean Backer. First, I'd like to say telecommunications is a very difficult job, and that never rang truer than on Valentine's Day of this year. It really is a stressful job. These people do a fantastic service, are on the other end of the call when you need them, dealing with stressful situations, people that are just completely distraught, and obviously listening to the background of what's going on in particular at Marjory Stoneman Douglas. So it is a very difficult job, and I don't think that they get enough recognition or enough respect, and I'm happy that we have this week to recognize them. With that, I'll hand it over to Kathy.
My name is Kathy Lariano. I'm the Communications Administrator for the Coral Springs Police and Fire Communications Center. I have here Diana Armistead. She's our training coordinator. We have Yolanda and Alfie. They're our new telecommunicators with our agency. And also we have Tom Campy, who's our technical coordinator. We just are very excited about National Telecommunicator Week. It's a week from April 8th through the 14th that gets to actually honor and celebrate what we do, and also to recognize the hard work of all the dispatchers across the country. We call ourselves the first responders because we are there getting the vital information for the police and fire services before they go on scene. We are their ears before the eyes get on scene. So we just want to make sure that we get the pertinent information and make sure that we are the calm voice for that caller that's calling us. No one calls 911 on a good day. They usually call us when they're having a bad day. So we have to make sure that we keep our composure and keep the calmness to make sure that we provide the best services that we can. And it was a true testament during the Marjory Stoneman Douglas incident. I'm very proud of our team and the work that they did. We worked very close together, and it was a team effort to make it go as smooth as it did on our end, and to be able to provide the best service to fire and also police.
Okay, let me give this proclamation. National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week is a time to honor those persons who perform vital duties for municipal, county, state, and federal public safety communications throughout the country. Public safety telecommunications personnel are the link between the public and the agencies that provide help. They often work long and hard hours under extremely stressful conditions. They are the nation's unsung heroes who are responsible for responding to calls from the general public for police, fire, and emergency medical assistance, and for dispatching set assistance to help save lives and property of our citizens. Therefore, we, the City Commission of Coral Springs, proclaim the week of April 8th through 14th, 2018 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, signed by myself and the rest of the commission. Kathy, I'm going to give this to you if I could.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioners, you want to come on down again?
I don't think you have room.
Well, we used to do it real simple, but this has a tendency to block everything. but it's there. I actually thought somebody else was supposed to be in there. Our left, your right. Good luck in the new job. Congratulations, Brad. Okay, now, we're here, but you three stay up here. You might as well just stay down here. Our last proclamation, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Daly to help me on this one, is a proclamation for Crime Victims' Rights Week. And Yvonne, is she? Come on up, Yvonne. You're going to have to say something, so I see you got a speech.
Ah, you're good. So this is a special proclamation for National Crime Victims' Rights Week. More than 20 million Americans are victims of crime each year, and each crime affects many more, including families, friends, and communities. National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity for us to reshape the future for victims by honoring the past and reflecting on hard-won victories, and to recommit to working together to insist on better treatment for victims to help them overcome the harm caused by crime. Therefore, we, the City Commission of Coral Springs, proclaim the week of April 8th through 14th, 2018 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week, signed April 4th, 2018 by the Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commissioner, City of Coral Springs.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Berrios. Our city of lovely city of Coral Springs is fortunate enough to have two victim advocates, myself and Diane Lenarte. Every year from April 8th to the 14th, cities across the nation, starting in Washington, D.C., are celebrating National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Here in Broward County, the Broward Victims' Rights Coalition, of which I am a member, which also consists of victim advocates from law enforcement agency, the state attorney's office, and also service providers, is hosting several events to raise awareness for crime victims and their survivors. A couple of these events are, we're going to have an annual training and awards ceremony where people who are serving victims of crime are being honored. We also have a fundraiser for a bowling event. That fundraiser, all the proceeds will go directly to crime victims. And finally, we have a vigil in Lonky Nature Park where a monument has been erected to honor crime victims and survivors. Thank you very much. I feel very honored to be able to serve crime victims.
Can I just steal this for 1 second? And Yvonne, I want to thank you, and no, you can keep that, that's yours. But I want to thank you and Diane, because when I went to the Marriott shortly after the events of February 14th, you guys were both there. I went back the next day, you both were there. I went to some of the funerals and vigils, and you were all there. So I don't know if you ever slept that week after those tragic events, but I know that you were a comforting force for those victims and their families, and we really appreciate that.
Clyde, want to say something?
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say how hard they really worked and how closely they worked with the victims, especially this year. They do it all the time, no matter what kind of tragedy, comes our way. They often also are overlooked and underappreciated, but I do want you to know that their job is fantastic. They're both great at it, and we are very fortunate to have them. And this year in particular, it was amazing the effort that was put forth by both of them.
All right, let's get a picture. Okay, Madam Clerk, we now have public comment. Do we have any speakers?
Mayor, I have one signed speaker, and that is Bonnie Metviner.
Bonnie, you're welcome. Good morning.
Joy, Dan. Why I'm here today is because I had a code enforcement issue with my lawn. One of my neighbors was complaining about it, and I came in front of the special magistrate, and I took care of it. It did take me some time. I was working with my landscaper, and I put down sod, and I kept putting down the wrong sod, so finally I got it right. We put down 2.5 pallets of sod, and then I get a letter in the mail saying that I'm being fined $370. And I said, what is this for? And I'm trying to fix up my house. I have some issues with the inside of it getting fixed. And I need that money to put inside to my home instead of giving it to the city of Coral Springs. I'm a big advocate for city of Coral Springs, and I'm asking you to help me. I know that fee was installed by the city commission at one time. I'm asking you to help me waive that fee.
You raise an issue that has been public or part of our conversation with the city manager, myself, and Jackie. And we're looking at that. And unfortunately, I guess I'll go to the city attorney. Sherry, you give us the answer you give me all the time when I ask. Because I had a lady who was 95 years old who lives on $681 a month. And we find her, and it was beyond me. But Sherry, could you tell us all what we as a commission can or can't do?
Sure, and I don't know the details of your case, ma'am, but assuming that those were the administrative fees that were imposed after the code enforcement hearing, under our code, the commission does not have the ability to waive those fees. Their actual cost of the code enforcement taking it to a hearing and the code enforcement officer working through the case process and bringing it into compliance.
It cost me thousands of dollars to fix this lawn. And it's beyond me. It's frustrating that this is money that I put into this property, and I'm a single person taking care of this 12,000 square foot lot. I just don't understand why I'm being charged these administrative fees when I need that money to put into my home here in Coral Springs. I don't understand that. The city commission implemented that. I don't understand why the city commission can't waive that. I'm asking for help.
What I would
Mayor,
suggest,
if we could, this is the first I've been aware of this issue specifically. We'll reach out to you and discuss the matter if that works for you. Great, thank you.
Appreciate that.
this is an issue that I'd like to bring up at a workshop because again, we can't talk, but I would almost be guaranteed that each one of you have had similar type of people responding to you. And there are certain circumstances. That lady who was 95 and living off $681 a month, this city's not here to bankrupt somebody. And she did fix the problem. So if we could, Mike, bring it up so we can talk about some of the options we might have, and we might be able to change some of the rules and give the city commission a little bit more, or somebody, even yourself, a little bit more ability to look at these things on a case-by-case basis.
Mayor, this is a component of our strategic plan that the commission is approving this morning. So it's part of our strategic project. We'll bring it back whenever we bring back that entire review, but we are working on this.
Okay, great. Just stay in touch.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Anybody else want to have any public comment? This is probably not the appropriate time, but I don't know if she's going to leave before the commission's done. But Coral Springs Talk on Sunday reported that the charter school was moving to Tamarack. And I got an email from the city manager that I interpreted that he, in fact, said, why are they saying such false things? And I reminded him that Sunday was April Fool's Day. And 2 years ago, it was reported that Coral Springs was, in fact, annexing Parkland. And I can't tell you how many calls I got either congratulating me or saying that's the worst thing that could happen to our community. So, Sharon, you might have fooled him. He's from Texas, but I actually did talk to him before today, and Mr. Goodrum says he was not fooled.
Mayor,
I'll turn it over to Mr. Goodrum.
Mayor, that is a public record, and I'd be glad to present that document. I was not fooled.
All right, anybody else want to talk? Okay, not seeing anything. We have no public hearings today. We do have a consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull any of the items on the consent agenda?
No.
I see item number 11 was pulled already. Although there was nothing there as to what it was. Do I hear any motions? All right, moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Vice Mayor Semaglia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
I think so.
Commissioner Vignola, are you with us?
I am, sir.
Perfect. Then Commissioner Vignola also votes aye. Now let's turn to item number 15. And Mr. Salmoni, if you want to come on up and tell us about our horticultural services citywide.
Good morning, Angelo Solomoni, Purchasing Administrator for the city. The item before you is the recommendation of award of horticultural services on a citywide basis. This recommendation is the result of many months of reviewing, analyzing, and redoing the specifications that we have now in place to provide these services on a citywide basis, both on the medians, the rights-of-way, public buildings, parks, and cul-de-sacs, any publicly owned property that needs this kind of maintenance. We have redone them totally. First time, I think, in maybe 10 or 12 years that we really went through and scrubbed the specifications, added a good deal of additional services such as trucks both north and south with spot-on cleanup crews as necessary for things that such as automobile accidents or a tree falling over. We can now have a crew both north and south end of town to respond to that in a quick basis. We have also enhanced the service levels on a regular basis on the public rights-of-way and the medians. The evaluation committee went through and their due diligence and are recommending 4 different firms for the areas that we segregated out in this contract, which gives us some fresh eyes on some of the areas, but also gives us some flexibility in future if we do have difficulties in any areas where we can have firms that we've worked with to go into and fix problems. So recommendation of award of contract.
Any questions?
Did we have 4 before?
Bless you.
Did we have 4 contractors before?
No, ma'am. I believe when the last contract was awarded, we started out with 3. And we have done that historically, probably in the last 15 to 20 years. We've had multiple awardees because there are times when we need to replace a contractor and we simply draw from that pool of experienced contractors to see if we can make a quick switch of contractors. This is not something that can wait for months to be done. We have made multiple awards in the past. I believe 2 of these are new and 2 of these are existing contractors.
Any motions? Moved by Vice Mayor Semaglia,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Carter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Going on to Resolution 2018-009. Ms. Whitaker, do you want to start this or do?
Sure. I'll read the resolution to the record. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Coral Springs, Florida, recommending Project Washington be approved as a qualified target industry QTI business pursuant to Section 288.106 Florida statutes, providing for an appropriation of $24,000 for the express purpose of local participation of the City of Coral Springs in the qualified target industry tax refund incentive, and providing for an effective date. Mayor, this is a request to approve and adopt.
Okay, and Ms. Barbosa, you are recognized to explain this.
Mayor, good morning, Vice Mayor.
Thank you for this opportunity. It excites me to bring you Project Washington. Project Washington is an expansion project here in the city. It's a pharmaceutical company that is expanding their R&D facility. So they had the opportunity to expand here or in India. An incentive that we work with the state of Florida, Enterprise Florida, and the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance. Their capital investment is $2.9 million in their expansion program. 20 new hires over the next 3 years with an average salary of over $71,000 a year, which is great. And we get to keep the 60.
Installation of bleeding control kits, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. And this is a request to approve and adopt on second reading.
Okay, we had a conversation our last meeting by Chief Babnick. If there's any questions, you want to, further questions, we can do it. If not,
I have one question.
okay, Commissioner Carter.
So I saw that you're having the class.
Yes.
From 12 to 2. I don't do well with other people's blood. How important is this class? I mean, I
It's-
want to go.
It's not going to be that graphic.
Okay.
The purpose of the class is just to educate on the equipment that we're advocating for.
So we can
it's-
help.
Yeah.
Because I want to go.
Yeah,
Just-
it's not going to be a
I
gruesome.
just wonder if you'd be picking me up off the floor.
You'll be fine.
Okay.
All right, Vice Mayor Semaglia has a question.
The last time we had discussed this, there was a situation where we talked about fitting it into the AD boxes.
Yes, sir.
Do they fit in there now?
Yes. I can't promise they'll fit in every box, but the standard boxes the kit will fit inside of.
Good. Any motions?
Move to approve.
All right, moved by Commissioner Daly, seconded by Vice Mayor Semaglia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Mr. Walsh, Mr. Caston, if you could come on up. So everybody sees who you guys are. This is a designation of the Community Redevelopment Agency's chair and vice chair. Mr. Walsh, who is now the chair, it would be designated again as the chair. Mr. Caston, who's now the vice chair, would be designated as, or will be designated as a vice chair.
Microphone on?
No, but speak into it.
He's
You're
moving
Irish,
from
you'd be
director to
able to
vice
speak.
chair.
He what?
He's moving from director to vice chair.
Okay, well, you know.
You hear me
Yep.
at this point?
Yes.
That's right, if I can jump
Yeah,
in.
Commissioner Daly.
Thanks, sir. You know, John and Andy, I appreciate all that you've done and continue to do for our CRA. It's been, I know that it's been a challenge. I know that we've, body have come together and do a lot of good work for this city, and I know that we've got some momentum with things like the project next door, the completion of the city hall, the completion of the parking garage, which, by the way, as everyone in this room may know, was one of the reasons that they signed on the dotted line next door, was the increased parking garage, and that was thanks to the foresight of the CRA and others. So, you know, with that, I would certainly, one, I hope you keep up the good work. We got a lot of work to do. But I would move to accept the nomination of John Walsh as chair and Andy Caston as vice chair.
Is that seconded?
Second.
All right, moved by Commissioner Daly, seconded by Commissioner Carter. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you for
Passes
your
unanimously.
service.
Just to follow up on that.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner, or Vice Mayor Semaglia.
I'm the liaison to that committee, and let me tell you, proud to be involved with you guys, so thank you for all you do.
I'm sorry, Lou, I should have let you make that motion. That was my bad.
Well, show that motion made by Vice Mayor Semaglia, seconded by Commissioner Daley.
No, that's fine.
Gentlemen, you're doing a great job. As you know, I was in the Senate when I passed the law that designated the CRA for Coral Springs. I can tell you this, Representative Jacobs, I was a little surprised I was doing it in Coral Springs because usually we do it for blighted areas. But I think that it was the best thing I ever did because
difference.
it's going to help us develop the areas in this city. It's going to make this a downtown a great downtown. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and keep your eyes on CRA downtown Coral Springs. Great things are happening.
Great, thanks. We have a request to appoint a director alternate, second alternate to attend and vote at any of the Broward League of Cities Board of Directors or general membership meetings held where the elected officials represent the city. Ms. Thomas, if you could tell us the people that have been designated.
Well, currently, we have Commissioner Daley as the president. Alternate is Commissioner Vignola. Second alternate is Commissioner Carter.
Okay, do I hear anybody want to step in?
It'd be really awkward if I was president of the league, but not the director for the city, so
I'll move that we keep them exactly the same.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Vignola to keep them as is, seconded by Vice Mayor Semaglia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
All right, passes unanimously. Dan, do a good job. Larry, do a good job. Joy, do a good job for us. Item number 20 has been added to the agenda, and I'll ask Mr. Hickey if you could come on up and tell us why or what we're doing.
Thank you, Mayor, and hopefully the slides will come up. If they don't, this is one of the pieces of property that was part of the comprehensive plan amendment we did for Broken Woods. So as part of that, last June, or I believe it was last, on there? Oh. Oh. So as part of that development, we planned for 434 units that include single-family, multifamily, and a townhouse development. So there we go. My apologies.
Okay, folks, we're going to move on to communications by the commissions, and I'm going to start with Commissioner Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In light of the recent tragedy, I realized that, because I don't know how many people saw the email from Captain Soberon about gun buyback program. I realize that it's a difficult thing to pursue right now as far as staff working on break spot. But at some point, I'd love to see us try to partner with other cities and in a program to buy back weapons. And I know that there's a process involved in raising funds for that, which I'm happy to participate in to help raise that money. And possibly, I've also talked to the Douglas PTSO, and they're also interested in participating with us. So I definitely want to keep that on the forefront, and the agenda is something we should pursue. Partnering with other cities, I think, would be a good idea as well. Okay? All right. Like to consider that, or at least keep it on the radar soon.
Talk to the city manager. Probably we should put it on a workshop as an issue to discuss.
Okay, maybe the one at the end of the month.
Depends what we got there.
Yeah, Mayor, we have a work plan where we establish, the kind of what projects we have coming up with workshops. On this item right here, we are working with a local nonprofit that has formed that is interested in this. So at this time, I don't think there's value in doing a workshop on it. I think our staff believes that it can be beneficial. It's just working through the logistics of how to do it and what it looks like. And so we've got to do some due diligence before we're prepared to do that.
That's all right. We'll let Mr. Goodrum come back to us when due diligence has been done, and we can discuss it.
Okay. I'd like to remind everybody that our shred-a-thon for your sensitive documents is this Saturday, and you can get information at coralsprings.org. Saturday the 14th will be Adopt a Street. You'll see the volunteers out there in their green shirts or their orange vests, safety vests, so make sure to give them a shout out when you see them and don't run them over. And lastly, this weekend is World Fest, and that is at the Sportsplex from 11 to 6, and parking is $3, so I hope that you'll take advantage of that, where we enjoy and respect all the diversity that we have in our community, and it's a really, really nice event. If you have any questions or you'd like to speak with me, I can be reached at 954-998-4186. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Smaglia.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I want to thank the military for doing what they do so we can do what we do. And again, thank the police and fire. You saw it earlier, why I thank them every week. You guys do one heck of a job, and ladies. Yeah. Last evening, I had the pleasure of being at the town hall that Ted Deutsch ran. It was quite an evening. Wasn't it nice? We had a couple of people came up, instead of asking a question, they read us a proclamation of about 4 pages, but that happens. I think the evening was great. We decided last night that we're going to do it again next month. So I guess the staff will be working, if they haven't got the call yet, about getting the city center again. This room will not hold what we had last night. We had almost 1,400 people there. Am I right? So.
That's what the paper reported.
Tip cop.
1,400?
1,400.
I didn't see that yet, huh?
Tip cop, make sure you tell them about that.
Oh, yeah. That's, tomorrow night we have a couple of things that are happening. We've got the Teen Political Forum, and we also have a Tip cop over at Wings Plus. That's Dan's.
Olympics.
That's Dan's favorite restaurant. And and so if you can go to both, what I plan on doing is after the Teen Political Forum is going over there and support our police officers. So you contact me 954-801-2004. Email me lsamaglia@coralsprings.org, and I absolutely make myself available to anybody who needs to talk to me. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Vignola.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to congratulate Deputy Chief Brad McKeon. Brad's been a longtime friend from back in our Little League days, and I'm very proud of him, and congratulations to you. I'd like to wish both my wife and my daughter Ava a happy birthday. Again, remind everyone, Teen Political Forum is tomorrow evening at 6:30 at the Center for the Arts. Obviously, with events that happened in our community recently, things are going to be a little bit different there. But thank you for all you guys that are attending. I recently went up to the March for Our Lives in Washington, D.C. with one of the recovering victims of the Stoneman Douglas shooting. And I cannot tell you how much that has just been like amazing, just a difference in my life to see so many people come together for something that took place here in our community, and to see all these people coming over and you know, celebrities coming over and talking to the families and the kids and stuff. It was really just overwhelming, and I'm glad I was able to have a chance to bring my wife and kids up there. In fact, I'm actually at Stoneman Douglas now. One of the victims who I've become friends with is first week back at school and asked me to spend some time with him. He called me his service dog. So I am here right now outside the cafeteria about to go get him some lunch. But that's why I'm not at the meeting today. And I just want to ask the city manager maybe to give an update, because I want the public to hear that we are working on a plan to add some more SROs and stuff at our schools. Is that okay if we can go over to Mr. Goodrum, please?
Here, we're still on, we're evaluating, looking at what we believe the appropriate level of service should be. We're on schedule to make that presentation through the budget process and be ready for the next school year.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And if anyone's got any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to call me on my cell phone at 954-632-7544. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Daley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to jump back for a second because there's an inside joke about Wings Plus and Lou Samaglia, and I happen to really, really like Wings Plus. I go there all the time. I just don't go there for every meal, like Commissioner Samaglia. So there are other restaurants in this city, Commissioner, but I do appreciate their support of our local law enforcement and look forward to going to that event with you. And you can buy me chicken wings for calling me out in public. I did want to thank Congressman Deutsch and everybody that was able to attend the town hall last night, packed house at our Center for the Arts on a very, very important issue. And all things considered, I think that there was a very reasonable dialogue. Certainly it's a hot button issue and there are strong feelings on both sides of the issue, but to be able to come together and meet as one, and my understanding is the Congressman's going to look to do another one next month. You know, Representative Jacobs, Commissioner Carter, Vice Mayor Samaglia, a number of elected officials from across the area that were there answering questions. And obviously there are still a lot of questions to be answered moving forward, but it is a good opportunity to come together and have that discussion, so really appreciate that. Had the opportunity to spend some time with some of the local elected officials from Parkland and around the county at the March for Our Lives in Parkland. Which I have to tell you was a masterful, undertaking. I mean, both obviously Chief Babinek and from our side was involved because we also provide fire services to Parkland and the county and the city of Parkland and PD and everybody that was part of kind of making that, putting that together. Really seamless for the number of people that came out, the thousands and thousands that came out. Really just a job well done. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, you saw on February 14th one person at their worst. Since then you've seen the community at its best. And I think that's a testament to our community and all those in it. I did want to give you a quick lawsuit update. So you may have seen in the Sun Sentinel, 10 cities did file a lawsuit, a declaratory judgment action against the state Monday. That is going through the process. On our end, the city attorney has been working with me and the folks from Everytown and the other cities that are going to join us. We are on track to likely file in the next week or so a similar lawsuit. Ultimately, it's different legal theories, but same end, hopefully same end result. And that is to remove the punitive provisions of 790.33. So thank you for your continued support on that. I did want to jump for a second to, we had a legislative update at the state level earlier today. Something that I have raised in the past and that I'd like to raise again for consideration is the possibility of looking at hiring a federal lobbyist. I know there are a number of cities that have federal lobbyists, and I look at lobbyists or governmental affairs consultants as an opportunity to bring home money, to be proactive in our legislative goals, to be defensive in our legislative protection. And I look at that in the same realm as a grant writer. You know, as far as I'm concerned, if we have a stable of grant writers and they are all bringing in the money like ours do, then that justifies us having them, and we should continue to do that. So I'd like us to look at opportunities to have a federal lobbyist, have federal representation, because obviously Congressman Deutsch and others are very supportive of us, but we want to make sure that we're going there full steam ahead to get the money that we can and the support that we need moving forward. So if we could talk about that in the near future, I'd appreciate it. I'm greatly looking forward to, like every year, Team Political Forum. Tomorrow, Commissioner Vignola and the entire TPF team, thank you for all you're doing. For those that for those that don't know, and this is either a good thing or a bad thing if you like me, I got my start at Team Political Forum. I met my future boss, Ari Porth, when he was a panelist on Team Political Forum in 2008, when I was a senior at Douglas. So the event is near and dear to my heart, and I'm proud to participate. And thank you, Commissioner Vignola and team, for continuing to put it together.
Dan, do we know if the school board will be there? Because that was all the questions last night.
So my understanding from Commissioner Vignola is there are members of the school board that will be there.
If I may.
Sure.
So currently, right now, we have the 5 members of the Coral Springs City Commission, obviously. We have school board members, Donna Coyne and Robin Bartleman. We have County Commissioner Michael Udine. And something a little different this year, because things are a little different. We're going to have Vice Mayor Stacy Kagan from the City of Parkland also there on stage.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. And the last thing, you know, as I look at the Four Corners, and we've always looked at the four, and I'm glad that our CRA folks are still here, because maybe they can help get this message to the appropriate folks. We are limited. We've got 4 main corners, 4 redevelopment opportunities, and as you heard earlier, and as you've probably seen in the paper, the Financial Plaza is knock on wood well on its way to redevelopment of a $170 million redevelopment deal. The Publix parcel, which has been off the books for a long time, was for sale. It's not for sale. It's for sale. It's not for sale. But at least there's some sort of movement there. My concern is what's it called? Village Square, which is the old Broward College Plaza. I think it's kind of embarrassing, honestly, Mr. Manager and colleagues. I think we need to continue, and I know that we've had discussions. I know that we've gone back and forth. There are several different property owners. I understand that it's complicated, but I think it's time we turn up the heat, because the corner is kind of an embarrassment. And the fact that there is not actual movement taking place, and I don't know, and I'm not going to sit up here and speculate as to why it's not happening, or this person doesn't like this person, or that person doesn't like, I don't frankly care. I'm trying to take the egos out of it, and let's see if we can actually make something substantive happen there. So I'd like to see if we can ramp up the heat a little bit, and if nothing else, then bring it into full compliance, because I assume, based on its appearance, it is not in full compliance with city code. So, and this is a message directly to the property owners. Look, get your stuff together, because we're moving forward as a municipality, and we want to be partners in this. So I'm hopeful that you'll join with us on that. If anyone needs to reach me, you can call my cell at 954-778-3304, email me at ddaly@coralsprings.org, or find me on any of the social media outlets. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
All right, just on that issue of property, there is movement going on. We're not at liberty to talk about it, but I can assure you that that is not an issue that is dying. And I do know that the city manager is actively with the CRA and other people trying to develop it. With reference to Publix, as you know, years ago when somebody from Coral Springs wanted to talk about that property, one of the bag boys would come in from one of the Publix, and he would be the negotiator. And finally, I was able to get the senior vice president to fly over here. We were willing to go over there, but they came to us. The property is for sale. It was taken off because there were some questions as far as what was going to be developed there. That is being worked on also. So I don't want anybody to leave here thinking today that nothing is being done, because it is being done. Secondly, I want to thank our Vice Mayor for taking the lead last night at the Ted Deutsch Town Hall meeting. Unfortunately, I was in trial in West Palm Beach, which we thought we'd get over about 5 o'clock. It did not get over until 7:30 in the evening, so I could not make it. I spoke to the congressman. He and I are doing another project together, dealing with some constitutional amendments. I want to thank you for being there and for introducing all of the people that needed to be introduced. And finally, I want to talk about a subject that is near and dear to my heart. I'm wearing blue today, and there's a reason why I'm wearing blue today. It's Autism Day. And when I was a young college student at the University of Florida, I was a psychology pre-med student, and I was doing research work at Shands on autism, which was really not diagnosed or became a diagnosis until about 1944. And back when I was doing it, the psychiatrists that we were dealing with thought that it was an environmental issue where kids were becoming schizophrenic, is the word they used, in early childhood. And the diagnosis was actually a throwaway diagnosis dealing with behavioral problems. Now, today, 1 in 68 children are now classified and diagnosed as being autistic. And I was amazed. Yesterday, I was invited by Ramblewood Elementary School to go out there and meet a young man by the name of Justin Salonia, who's a young man who was born in Coral Springs, still lives here. His parents were born in Coral Springs, still live here. His grandma was born in South Florida, and she lives in Coral Springs. And I was amazed at this young man's ability to communicate with these kindergarten kids, first and second grade kids, about what autism was and what it meant to him. And to him, he said it meant not a disability, but something he could deal with and something that he could use to better our society. And I asked him, I said, what do you want to do, Justin, when you grow up? And he said he wanted to be a history teacher because he loves history. And he told me, and I went back and looked at it, that one of the people that was diagnosed as autistic retrospectively was Mozart. And again, I didn't know that. And I went and looked at some of the people that have been diagnosed with autism. And I'm bringing this issue up because I read something in the paper that kind of made me a little upset because Mr. Cruz was apparently diagnosed with autism. And I'm told that some of the kids that have been diagnosed with autism are now being bullied. People are talking to them about going crazy. And I want to tell everybody, autistic kids are normal kids that have certain developmental problems that can be treated. And when treated, these people can be productive members of society, are productive members of society, and there's more people out there who have been diagnosed with autism that you wouldn't even know they're autistic. So I'm asking everybody to remember them today and remember them this week. I think we did a proclamation last meeting, but today is actually the Autistic Day. These are great kids, and they deserve to have a pat on their back and be given every chance to succeed in society like every American. So with that, anybody out there, and Justin, I want to thank you for enlightening me to the issue. And someday I'd like to have Justin maybe come and talk to the commission, and so you all can see how bright this young man is. And with that, we do have our office hours, and I never remember when mine are because they change all the time, because I do have another day job called being a lawyer. But just call Andrea Maper, who is all of ours right-hand person, and she'll take care of you. And since I talked about Andrea, I want to tell you, Michael, she is our person, and she does a great job for all of us. And now I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to call up Leslie Brown and Lisa White to provide a brief presentation on a Third Amendment to an interlocal agreement between the city and Broward County School Board.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Leslie Brown, Chief Portfolio Services Officer for Broward County Public Schools. Just thank you on behalf of Superintendent Runcie for having us here this morning. Lisa White's going to share with you just a presentation, just to inform you about the interlocal agreement and some of the next steps that we're going to be going through. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
You're speaking very, either that's not loud enough or you're speaking very low.
Softly? Okay.
So be the teacher.
There you go. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, thank you.
I can remember my teachers always used to talk, and I could
No, sir.
I do. Commissioner Vignola's had a significant issue on single entry for our schools. And for some reason, I don't see us accomplishing that goal, which I think is significant for the safety of our kids. Where do we stand on that?
That is not a part of this amendment or ILA or how we calculate capacity or for growth management purposes. So I cannot answer that. I apologize.
Well, let me just put it this way. We citizens voted for, I believe it was a $900 million general obligation bond 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And I, as a citizen, have seen very little results of spending that $900 million, especially in Coral Springs. I've seen none. And it concerns me that we're going to be part of, again, an interlocal agreement that deals with bonds that are, I consider to be totally mismanaged at this point. How was this agreement change? And I hate to put you on the spot because it's not you guys. I know that you're the troops, but it's an issue that's out there. And it's an issue that I think affects this city because, we just had a general obligation bond that failed, and some of the people told me they voted against it because of the school board.
So we actually have increased the timeline on the single point of entry. There are several projects that are in the design phase. Some have been completed, some are in the design phase, and some are actually in the implementation phase right now. The entire projects, they have been moved forward, and they are being expedited to all be completed no later than the end of 2018. They originally had been scheduled out over the following year, but everything has been pushed up. And I can get you specifically on the single point of entry and the timelines for each of the schools in the city of Coral Springs. I will be happy to get that to you within the next 24 hours. Those
Another
timelines
question.
have been increased and escalated faster.
When I was in Tallahassee, one of the things I did, although Douglas is technically Parkland, it's still 60% of the kids are from Coral Springs.
Absolutely.
And I worked with some of the people to try to get some money appropriated to tear down that building and reconstruct another building. And I believe the legislature, and Candace, you can tell me if I'm wrong, appropriated $26 million for that particular project. And incoming President Galvano asked me, is there any way that the school board of Broward County would contribute some of the money, because they weren't sure that they were going to appropriate that much money. And I said, I didn't know. I said, I do know we have a lot of money in our bond issue, but is that $26 million going to be spent solely on Stoneman Douglas, I hope?
So we believe that that allocation is directly related to that facility at Stoneman Douglas High School. You may or may not know that that building has been taken over by the FBI. We are not able to tear that building down at this time. So I want the entire community to understand that it is not the school board holding back and not trying to move forward on this. The school board, Mr. Runcie, they are very, very dedicated to the project of replacing that space, whether or not it gets taken down or torn down. We actually have to separate that because we are no longer in control of that particular building. We are working fervently right now on the process for a new construction for either at that site or at another site for a building. And the $26 million has not actually been allocated yet. We anticipate it being allocated in the July 1st allocation to the school district. So I really appreciate that question and allowing us to speak, that we are on it. We do not have control of that building, And we absolutely are moving forward with plans to replace that building with the about $25, $26 million that has been allocated by the state.
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I can chime in?
Yeah, Commissioner Vignola.
So the single point of entry stuff, according to the school board staff, the facilities task force meeting, are saying that Coral Springs High School will be completed by the end of the summer, and all the other projects within the bond issue that were given the funds by the voters of Broward County will be completed by the end of this calendar year. So that's kind of where that is on the single point. We have another meeting, facilities task force meeting tomorrow night. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to make it because obviously we have the team political forum tomorrow. You know, and as far as the FBI taking over the 1200 building at Stoneman Douglas, if there's, I mean, any way, as I'm walking around the school right now, and kids that were in that building, that were hurt in that building, that went through just horrific things over there, are taking classes at the 700 building, which is looking directly at that building, and it's only, I don't know, maybe 50 feet away, 100 feet away. If there's any way to kind of expedite that, so that way by definitely next school year, that building should not be there. These kids should not have to be reminded of what happened in that building every time they look out their window in their classroom and things.
Well, Commissioner Vignola and we have Chief Perry here too. I believe the FBI has taken control because it's a crime scene. And I believe that is just a temporary situation. And I believe that the crime scene, you know, whatever is going to be needed, will probably be done, it should be done within probably the month.
Mr. Mayor, I read that it could be up to 3 years
Absolutely.
before that building could be torn down.
And I appreciate that, Commissioner Carter. This is not short-term. Perhaps your chief could explain.
He's a fire.
I'm sorry. What the amount of time that these types of investigations take. It will not be a month.
I know people in the press, it wasn't you, Lisa, put 3 years, but believe me, a crime scene for a crime like this, especially if in fact this young fellow pleads guilty or is charged or is tried within a year, does not last for 3 years.
There is a possibility that they will insist on holding it for trial. They may want the jurors to have the ability to do a walkthrough. If we tear down the building, that won't be there. I could reach out to my counterparts in the FBI and see what their intentions are. I could probably tell you right now with reasonable amount of certainty that they'll say, we don't know yet, we're going to see how the prosecution goes and see if it moves, you know, from any state court to a federal court, and I'm sure we'll have an answer as soon as those issues are brought forward.
Anyway, that's one of the questions I had, and I thank you. Thank you. Mr. Goodwin, Susan Grant used to be the liaison. Who is our new liaison?
Mayor, if you can, it's Melissa. We will, with the new changes, we'll make sure we get to the commission kind of who is leading up what effort for the city, but Melissa is took Susan's role in that.
Okay.
And then Mayor, lastly, One Financial Plaza, the last parcel did close last week, so the developer owns both parcels of land. They've also negotiated the lease agreements for the current leased spaces. Those will all vacate by the end of the year, so they'll be now going through the process with the county for replatting, and then obviously with us for the development of it. So that is great news. One of the big barriers has been the building and the parking lot owned by different entities, and that is now under one. So that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, well, City Attorney.
Nothing this morning, Mayor.
Where's Mr. Hearn, may I ask?
In Ireland, sir.
And what is he doing in Ireland?
Hopefully having a great time.
Sightseeing, Mr. Mayor.
All right, with that, this meeting's adjourned.